The longer I grow, the more I gravitate towards orchids that are very vigorous and that bloom multiple times a year. If you guys saw my recent shorts video, you noticed that I have a lot of Richard Mueller orchids that are blooming at the same time. These orchids bloom, man, sometimes 4 or 5 times a year. It's insane to me. So in today's video, in lieu of the monthly bloom update, I'm going to show you some of the Richard Mueller hybrids that I have in bloom right now, just because they're the most vigorous ones in my collection. They are constantly blooming, and they have some characteristics about them that I really like. A lot of them change colors. A lot of them are fragrant as well, and I just find that they grow very, very easily. They bloom really often, but don't forget, once you get an orchid, it can take up to a year for them to acclimate to your conditions, so don't be discouraged if you have a Richard Mueller hybrid and it hasn't bloomed yet, because once they start, they really don't stop. So let me walk you through a couple in my collection. The first orchid I'm going to show you guys is the BLC Rustic Spots H&R. I got this orchid as a gift on my birthday from some of my friends, and I got it last November, and it's blooming for the second time already. It was, I would say, like a seedling when I got it, so it bloomed quickly, and when it opens, it starts as a darker color, and then it changes color over time. This is very Richard Mueller-like. You'll notice that the colors do change, which is something that I enjoy about these orchids. This orchid is not fragrant. A lot of the Richard Mueller hybrids are, but this one isn't. But the flowers tend to last a long time because they are waxy. I love the spotting on it. I find it very pretty, and it's very vigorous. So you see that another growth is coming in. I repotted it when I got it in November, but I repotted it in December, and it's already due for a repot. So I got to get it into a larger pot. The root system is very vigorous. This is easy to grow, no issues at all with it. And I love that the flower count is increasing as well, just given that it's not a huge plant. It's more compact, but already I have 3 flowers. I know it could possibly give me more. So I like this one. Very cute. Okay, the next orchid I want to show you is so vigorous. This one is the BLC Memoria Vern Bloch. This was recently registered, so if you guys are looking for it, look for the actual Richard Mueller by the Cattleya Mark Jones name, because they're not updated everywhere. But this orchid is fragrant. I got it from my friend Vin. Oh my gosh, he gave it to me as a little seedling. He knows I love Richard Mueller's, and it opens up like this. This color is so pretty, and then it fades over time to this gold color. And in between, you could see the differences in color. Now, the blooms last for about a month. It smells so good. I mean, it's like a standard Cattleya fragrance. Nothing particularly sticks out other than it's very pleasant. And it's like on steroids. So these hybrids have so much vigor, and I'm showing them to you because they're just the easiest ones, and I'm finding that in my collection, they're the ones that bloom the most, and I've gravitated more towards these orchids because of this. They're constantly blooming. Now you could see that the root system is very vigorous. I got this 2 years ago, and I've repotted it twice already, and it has to go in a bigger pot already, so it just goes to show why I'm so focused on these orchids. Now, some folks don't like repetitive flowers, but I find that there's a lot of variety to these Richard Mueller hybrids. This one is the hidden gold, and you could see that the flower shape is very different. It opens up like a bright orange. This was like maybe a few days after it opened, but then it turns into a golden yellow. So that name hidden gold is so perfect for this orchid because it opens one way and then it not ends, but you kind of see it in a different light after a couple of days. This is very vigorous. I got it in January from a friend. Oh my goodness, I love this orchid. I just find that it's such an easy grower. This is the first time that it blooms for me. I noticed that one of the blooms opened up wonky, which is normal for any first-time bloomer, but it has a very tight growth pattern. The roots are coming out of the pot already, and I'm very happy with it. Like I said, I recommend these orchids very highly because of their vigor. And I find that in my collection, they're some of the most vigorous orchids that I have. They grow well and they flower very often. This one doesn't have any fragrance. Okay, this is the orchid that started it all, and it is in bud right now. Like, I still can't believe that I probably have a dozen Richard Mueller hybrids. Some of them haven't bloomed yet, but this was the one that started it all for me. So I got this maybe 3.5 years ago from Sunset Valley Orchids, and I've divided it already and given pieces to friends. And this was the first orchid that I saw. It was just so vigorous, blooming all the time. And after I divided it, it didn't give me that many blooms. It took like a little break for about 6 months, and then it's back. So it is going to bloom again for me. And it's going to give me, is this 2 or 3 buds? It's going to give me 3 flowers. And gosh, guys, this is the first one that I had. And when it opened, it was fragrant. It opens up like a greenish color, like a greenish yellow, green yellow, I would say, with like a metallic-y little subtle spots inside of the flower. And then once again, it fades to this gold color. The fragrance, again, is not very particular, but it is a pleasant Cattleya fragrance, quite strong, very vigorous. And this is before I repotted it. It gave me several flowers. This blooms 5 times a year sometimes. Okay, this is a newer one. This one actually took me longer to bloom. This was a small seedling, and this is the second time that it's going to bloom for me. This is the BLC Hawaiian Leopard Mei-Ling. This was gifted to me from a friend. I believe she got it from Hauserman Orchids. It was a very teeny tiny seedling. I got it in 2021, and the first time that it bloomed for me, it was a little wonky, but then it improved the second time around. This is actually the 3rd time it blooms now that I think of it, because I do remember it had a wonky first bloom that I was a little disappointed in, but that's normal for a first time bloomer. This is a cross with an orchid that I already have. The tag is very faded, but it is the Wine Leopard, and it's so gorgeous. Now, the blooms are still a tiny bit wonky, but it is sorting itself out. The lip is pretty, and it has a very, very strong fragrance. It reminds me of the Wine Leopard Tsinghua, which is more of like a spicy floral. Very, very strong. This is one of the wonkier blooms. I think it'll take care of itself over time, but I love how the lip is more red. It's a little bit different than than some of the others. And this one has some color change, but not as much as the others. So this one is more stable than some of the other Richard Mueller hybrids. This next one is fantastic. This is very different. I got this as a gift from my friend Michael McCarthy. Oh my gosh. This is such a good one. This is a Cattleya Labiata cross with the Richard Mueller. And guys, this opens up like a pink color and then fades to a white. So this is what I'm saying, that Richard Mueller is not just yellow, they're different. You get lots of variety. Depending on the parent that it's crossed with, you don't always get that yellow color. Sometimes you get smaller flowers, sometimes you get bigger flowers. It depends on what it's crossed with. But this one is insanely vigorous. It's compact and pushes multiple growths. It reminds me of the Mark Jones in that it's like on steroids, y'all. It's growing all over the place. I got this about 1.5 years ago, and I repotted it as soon as I got it, and I'm on the verge of having to repot it again. I'll probably wait until the spring, but it has multiple points of growth. Very easy, blooms multiple times a year. The fragrance on this, the first few times I didn't detect any, but this time around I noticed like a light, subtle, powdery floral fragrance. It's very light. This is what it looks like when it opens. Sometimes it's a little bit brighter, depends on the temperatures, but it's so pretty. The next two I'm going to show you are not in bloom, but they've bloomed before, so I want to show them to you. This one is the BC Attagirl. This was recently registered a year ago, so you have to look for it as the actual cross. This was a bag baby, highly fragrant, beautiful, opens up like a blushy peach and then fades to a yellow. This one reminds me of the Pauwela Spots, very vigorous. This one's actually the largest hybrid that I have. This next orchid is an unregistered hybrid. It is a cross with the Richard Mueller and two Ripiculus Lalias. It's newer to my collection. It bloomed once. No fragrance on it, but some of those Lalias have a very high flower count, so I'm curious to see how it grows as it gets bigger. It's still quite small, so I'll keep you updated on it. Anyway, guys, I wanted to show you all of these Richard Mueller hybrids because there are so many blooming right now. I'm not going to end my monthly updates at all. I love showing you what I have in bloom for the month, but for this month, I really wanted to show you these because they're blooming at the same time, and it's no coincidence. These orchids are just the most vigorous ones in my collection, and you guys are always looking for orchids that flower very often, so I wanted to do an updated video to show you what you can expect when you grow them, if they have fragrance and whatnot. And I would love to hear what Richard Mueller hybrids you guys have that I don't, because I'm always expanding the collection. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.